Good evening, everyone, and welcome out to Speed Racing Network, where we are presenting the Xfinity Series. It's the round of 11, not 10, 11, because we always do things a little differently here at Speed Racing Network. My name is Sean Griffith. I am here with Jonathan Byer. Jonathan, how's it going, man?
It's going. We had a really fun race last night with the Truck Series, and we were able to advance ourselves into the next round of the playoffs, which is always good. But, man, Indianapolis is such a fun track. I'm looking forward to this race tonight.
You know, I was going to say, would it have been a fun race had you not made it into the next round?
Ha! Good point. Probably not. But this is a track, I mean, it's so historic to motorsports, and everybody wants to have the opportunity to run here. Even though we do it virtually, there's still something special about it, and man, it always puts on a good show. Yeah, it is a lot of fun to drive. You know, 4 right angles, how easy is that? I mean, that's pretty simple if you think about it, but this is one of the most technical tracks on the circuit because it is 4 right angles, and you have to hit your marks every single time. That's right, and the quarters look like they're the same, but they're actually not. There's small differences between all of them, and it's the drivers that figure out how to work those differences to their advantage are the ones that find themselves up front.
Yeah, and we've got all these great playoff drivers, but also some drivers that didn't make it to the second round of the playoffs that are still fantastic drivers. It's just they're not racing for the playoffs. So I have a feeling we're going to see some fireworks here today. We might see 1 or 2 guys playing spoiler here tonight.
Absolutely. We saw it a little bit in Martinsville NASCAR races last weekend. Non-playoff drivers can still have an effect in the outcome of a playoff driver's race. And this is a track where close racing is going to happen, and mistakes could happen pretty easily. So how those drivers play nice with each other is going to impact certain drivers' playoff chances.
Oh, definitely. But, you know, we are here at Indianapolis. It is the playoff round of not 10, but 11 because we had a tie on the cut line last week. We will talk a lot more about that here in just a few minutes. But it's the Hoosier 150, 60 laps around this very hallowed ground here. Should be a lot of fun and a lot of action on the track.
See that no fast repairs right there? That's big at a track like this that's so aero dependent. You get a little bit of damage on that right side, you're going to have to weigh your option whether you want to spend the extra time on the pit road to fix it or not. And so with no fast repairs, that might make some of these drivers drive a little bit more cautious.
Yeah, and you know, caution is kind of the name of the game here, whether it's the caution is coming out all the time or whether it's you're just driving cautiously. And, you know, we had a discussion last night after the Truck Series race that, you know, there are going to be some drivers out there that kind of back down just a little bit tonight to save tires, save fuel, and that could come in very, very handy in the later stages.
Absolutely. It's going to be another one of those strategy races that we always talk about and like to see, because Indianapolis is a lot like a road course. It's technical, it takes rhythm, but there's also a lot of chances for drivers to save both on fuel and tires. And so with that, it plays a lot like a road course would play. So don't be shocked if you see some of our better road course drivers in SRN lead this race tonight.
Well, we had a first-time winner last night in this series. We've had, I believe, 14 different winners in the last 15 weeks, actually. So it's really been a fantastic season. So we'll see what happens. But we do go for 20 weeks in this league, fixed setups, no fast repairs. $10 a week is what people pay to get into this league, and for that $10 a week, they have a chance at $500 if they win the entire thing.
Right, Sean. Even one of my favorite things is the teams. We have 5-person teams here at SRN. That team championship pays up $200 by itself. So even if you're a team that may not have all the drivers there contending for that $500 playoff, you could still have some drivers in that team championship in for contention.
Yeah, another thing that we have going on in this race tonight and throughout the playoffs is our second tier playoffs brought to you by Mid-South Coating Company. And so those standings are up on our Discord channel, but every single driver here is racing for something tonight.
Absolutely, and that's what makes SRN so cool. We always make sure that every driver is in the opportunity to win something, whether that be the race payout or, like you said, the Tier 2 championship if they're out of the playoffs already.
Well, let's take a look at our race payouts for tonight. First place gets $30, second place gets $20, and third through fifth all get their money back. And so just a little bit of an appetizer there to kind of hold you over until you get to the big playoff money.
That's right, and that's what brings drivers in every week. Even if you're not a playoff driver, you can still come in here and make a little bit of cash every week.
Now, our season payouts, that's where the stuff is at. Jonathan, you know that better than anybody, going for that prize in the Truck Series. But here in the Xfinity Series, $500 for first place, $300 for second, $180 for third, $120 for fourth, and $80 for fifth. But we expanded it this year. We went to 8 positions instead of 5.
Yeah, in sixth, you'll get $60. Seventh, we'll get $40. And eighth place, we'll get $20. Going to 8 is incredible because it gives those guys that maybe were really, really close to making that final championship run a little bit of cash. But man, wouldn't you love to be in that top 5 and be guaranteed at least $80 after that last week?
Yeah, guaranteed $80 and the chance at getting 6 times that by just winning the thing. So really, really a great structure. We're very proud of it, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback from the way that this thing is completely structured, with all the money that is floating around absolutely everywhere. So hold on, guys. Just put those seatbelts on, get ready, pull out those potato chips, pull out that soda, get ready to roll. Actually, forget the soda. Let's get into the beer of the week. This week's Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week comes out of Buskey Cider in Virginia. It's called Buskey Sherry Barrel Aged Cider. Now, Buskey's always been known for their hard ciders, but co-owner El Correll had always wanted to try something. Will Correll, the other co-owner, said that El's been scheming to get a sherry barrel to make cider since the day that Buskey was born. In December of 2019, she finally got her wish when they got access to some Oloroso sherry barrels and started aging a premium blend of Virginia apples in it. Almost 2 years later, the cider is finally ready to serve. The result of the aged blend and the sherry barrels has given us a nutty, raisin-like character with a citrusy finish. Now you can pick up a bottle of Buskey Sherry Barrel Aged Cider, available all over Virginia. The Beer of the Week is brought to you by BeerStreetJournal.com, the leading online publication for craft beer reviews. Go to BeerStreetJournal.com to find your next great beer. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly. That's right. Buskey Cider came out with the Sherry Barrel Aged Cider. It's tough to say, but it's delicious to drink, according to everyone that I've heard from. So definitely, if you are in that Virginia area where you can get your hands on some Buskey Sherry Barrel Aged Cider, go and do that. It's a passion of the Buskey company to come out with these ciders that are a little bit unique and different, and that's exactly what they've done here.
Cool, Sean. I'm not a cider guy myself, but man, that packaging looks really cool. And we thank Beer Street Journal for beering us the beer of the week, or whatever beverage they might have every week. Great partners with SRN.
Definitely. Go to BeerStreetJournal.com. Find that next great beer and learn all you can about beer, because they've got all sorts of great information on there. But let's jump into the team championship now. We have whittled it from 8 down to our final 4 here. And over on the left side, R&D Motorsports and JW Racing are going to go head-to-head here.
And you see there at the bottom, the final 4 races, the final 4, they're going to be decided at Indianapolis, Phoenix, and Texas. That's 3 completely different tracks. So that's going to test every single member of these teams.
Oh, yeah, and that's what we really want to do here. We want to find out who the best drivers are, and we are going to figure that out. Now, everybody starts at 0 because this is a new round, but R&D Motorsports versus JW Racing, and then Tank Racing versus Striker Motorsports, going to be very interesting. Let's take a deeper look at each of these teams as we check out that 4 and 8 matchup, and you'll see here that there's only 4 drivers on R&D Motorsports, but there's 5 on JW Racing, so I think JW might have the advantage here.
When you look at the 2 teams, you see the average finishes on both sides of the screen there, and they're pretty comparable. You know, they kind of average out to about the same number. So this is going to be a really good matchup. We saw JW have a lot of momentum help them through that first round, and they were able to knock off that 1 seed. So don't be surprised if this matchup is decided by fewer than 10 points.
Yeah, keep in mind that Beau Tiffany is in the playoffs. James Shamewolf is in the playoffs, so 1 on each side is inside that playoff hunt. The last season, Dylan Patterson was a playoff driver. Corey Saucier was an incredibly good playoff driver in the Truck Series, and Stan Houseman has always been right there on that bubble as well. So R&D Motorsports has something for these guys, I think.
Absolutely, and you know, both these teams, we see names on these lists that we've run with for years now, and it's not surprising to see them have a couple playoff drivers in there, but also, being able to carry their team to the second round of the team playoffs.
Now, on the other side of the bracket, you've got Tank Racing and Striker Motorsports, who kind of dispatched of the teams that they were up against fairly easily. Over on the Tank side, Vincent Cortez and Adrian Schumacher lead the way, both of them still in the playoffs over there. On the right side of the bracket, only Tyler Markle is left in the playoff hunt.
And Sean, these are two teams that we've seen be around SRN for years now. A lot of familiar names on this screen. And so we know what these guys are capable of. Not a surprise. They've gotten their teams in the next round. But you look at those average finishes, and Tank Racing looks like it has a little bit more upside when it comes to average finish. But also, you got to think about Striker Motorsports. They hit their momentum right before the end of the regular season and have been able to carry that through the playoffs. So it's going to be a powerhouse versus momentum matchup here.
An interesting thing to note here, all 5 of Tank Racing is here tonight. Only 3 of the 4 of Striker Motorsports are here. So all 3 of those guys need to have a great race here tonight in order to have a shot here.
Absolutely, that's big. There's no room for error without that 4th or 5th person being able to run for your team. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on.
Well, let's jump down and talk about our playoff standings. Now, obviously the playoff standings, everybody's equal right now because going into the second round, bonus points are thrown out from the regular season. Everybody starts on the same level here, so that way there's no advantages. It is just one run what you brung and let's go.
That's right, Sean. And like we looked at with the team intro screen, these 3 tracks of Indianapolis, Phoenix, and Texas come 3 completely different tracks. I truly believe that the ones that make the cut going into the next round are going to be the best drivers in the league because they're going to have to make it happen on 3 completely different tracks.
Yeah, the one question that we've always gotten is why don't you put a road course in the playoffs as well? And I feel like Indianapolis is pretty close to being a road course without actually turning right.
Absolutely. The strategy plays a lot the same. The corners play a lot the same. And you see some of the better road course drivers run up front in Indianapolis. So I think it's a fair trade-off.
Well, let's jump in to each one of these drivers. So there are 11. Remember, Beau Tiffany and Olynyk were tied on the cut line after last race. An incredible thing there because both of them got into the cut because of bonus points.
That's right, and so we're left with 11 instead of 10. So there's one more playoff driver out there, but it's not like we're allowing more spots in the last round, so there's more drivers buying for less spots now.
That's right. Let's start off with Jordan Bain here. Man, he has come on super strong in the past 4 or 5 weeks. He does have 2 wins this season, and obviously he is probably the betting favorite right now, just the momentum that he has coming into this thing.
Absolutely. And whenever you have an average start and average finish where he does with 11th and 10th, you're going to be in contention for the points every time.
Well, next up, we got Vincent Cortez, and I've been saying all season long, I fully expect to see Vincent Cortez in winner's circle at some point this season, but he's starting to run out of weeks.
That's right, but he was fastest in practice just a few minutes ago, so this could be his week. Still buying to make that championship round, but he's catching a lot of momentum at the right time as well, just like Jordan Bain, so expect to see him up front.
You know, funny story with Vincent Cortez. Every week for the past 3 or 4 weeks, he has posted in the Discord channel, I'm going to get wrecked tonight, I'm going to get wrecked tonight, I'm going to get wrecked tonight, and he never gets wrecked. So maybe that's his good luck charm, is just saying that he's going to get wrecked.
Maybe. That's a bold strategy, but seems to be working for him thus far. He's currently second. We have Adrian Schumacher third right now, even though we're all tied up. That's where we'll put him. Races for Tank Racing. He won the Watkins Glen race. We talked a little bit about how close this track is to a road course. He was also in the top 5 on the practice charts tonight, so could be a good night for him.
Yeah, he is very, very good at these types of courses, so I fully expect to see him towards the top of the list. But another guy that has made it through the playoff system before and knows his way around is Aaron Gerwitz. He made it all the way to the finals last season, was kind of a surprise in doing that, but this year he has shown us that it was not a surprise.
Yes, and consistency is the name of the game with Gerwitz. You see his best finish is 5th at 2 tracks this year. You know, nothing too crazy there. But it's just him consistently week in and week out contending to finish somewhere in that top 10.
Yeah, he is what I would consider that blue-collar driver, the one that just gets out there and just grinds and grinds and grinds until it gets there. And so we'll see if he can do that again here tonight at Indianapolis. But Tyler Markle from Stryker Motorsports won at Charlotte and has not looked back since.
Absolutely, and he is the only Stryker Motorsports car in the playoffs. But he did win at Charlotte, like you said, has an average start of 21st, an average finish of 16th. So another one that's just, he's gotten here on consistency. We'll see if that's enough to get him through to the next round.
Next up, we have our independent driver, Rhett Tucker, who really, it's been an incredible run for Rhett, and he's always shown good promise in the car, obviously, but this season has been a really, really up season for him.
I feel like we've been talking about him a lot on the broadcast over the past couple weeks, and for good reason. He's been running up front, contending. The cars haven't fallen completely his way yet, but he was still able to make this round of the playoffs. He's one I would expect to do just enough in these 3 races to get to the next round.
Next up, we have our playoff lucky dog, who not only made it into the playoffs on that very, very last week of racing in order to get in, but now he has actually made it into this second round, and he's always towards the front of the list. In fact, right now he's at the top of the leaderboard on the standings.
He was able to make this round with only 1 bonus point, which is quite impressive. That means he was able to outpace some of the guys that came in with 4, 5, 6 bonus points. So, and he's also part of the JW Racing powerhouse we're seeing right now. So he's got a good team behind him, good momentum, another one to watch out for.
Now, Seth Reed, he's the last driver in from Highline Racing, and he's kind of been their de facto leader the entire time. Just has a couple of second-place finishes on the board right now, but that average start, average finish, it shows how consistent this guy can be.
And year in and year out, Sean, we see how consistency pays off, and this is a prime example. You know, he hasn't had a win this year, but he's been up near the front in pretty much every race, and that'll get you enough points to keep advancing all the way through. We saw Ryan Newman do that in the chase a few years ago in NASCAR. You don't necessarily have to pop off big wins and stunning headlines to make it.
Now, Tristan Bailey has been fast all season long, and he's kind of that guy that he's always at the front of the pack, and as long as things stay clean at the end, you will see him cross that finish line first. We've seen that twice this season, including last week when he desperately needed it. But now everybody's on even ground. We'll see what he can do with that.
Yeah, we saw him getting that big incident about halfway through the race last week that cost him a lot of points, but he was able to do just enough the races before that to make it to this round. I expect that just to be a blip in his playoff run here as he continues to march forward.
Next up, Beau Tiffany from R&D Motorsports, and Beau again has really been strong for the past 2 seasons, and so now that he does have an opportunity to get in, now that he's not on that cut line, let's see if he can take advantage of this opportunity and have a good race here tonight to set him up really well for next week.
I feel like we keep saying this as we introduce our playoff drivers, but another one who's just consistently there week in and week out. You know, we're not talking about him getting caught up in incidents, we're not talking about him winning races. He's just kind of there, and he's doing just enough to keep his playoff hopes alive, and I think he's going to be a force to maybe point his way into the next round.
And finally, we have Greg Olynyk, and we're not going to say he's in last place on the standings right now because everybody's even. However, he was the guy that needed 2 bonus points in last week's race, plus a good finish, just to tie to get in. So he is on that lucky star right now. He is ready to roll out there tonight, and I really think that he's going to take that luck and parlay it into something great.
Greg is one of those guys, when he needs it, he's going to get it done. So no surprise here. Fellow broadcaster for the Truck Series, always does a great job. We appreciate his commentary, but we're going to appreciate his driving tonight. I expect him to, maybe think he slipped into this round, but take that to his advantage and try his hardest to move forward.
Well, we will jump out there onto the track, and what you'll notice here is on the left side, you will see some green numbers and you will see some red numbers. Those green numbers are the playoff drivers. The red numbers are the ones that are not in the playoffs. And so we will see how many of those green numbers can stay up on that left side towards the top of the rankings as we get started. But I believe we've got our grid going on right now. So let's go through our top 12 here. Adrian Schumacher, we always call him the road race king, and that's kind of, like we said, this is kind of one of those courses. He is out front by over 1/10 of a second, a huge lap for him.
Yeah, Sean, that's really, really impressive lap. Second, we talked about Vincent Cortez. Maybe this is his week. Great starting spot. Tristan Bailey is going to be in third, Jordan Bain in fourth. So our top four right there, Sean, all playoff drivers.
Yep, Drew Ballesteros from JW Racing is working on that second-tier playoff standings. So he'll start off in fifth. Seth Reed from Highline Racing, a playoff driver, is in sixth. James Shane Wolf from JW Racing will be in seventh. And then Nathan De La Rosa from Jonathan Byer Racing. I know that guy. He's going to start off in eighth.
That's right. Good qualifying lap by Nathan right there. We got Matthew Robinson from JW starting in ninth. Aaron Gerwitz, one of our playoff drivers, starting 10th for Rev'd. Justin Rideout for JW Racing starting 11th. And, another JW Racing car, Sean. Michael Lark in 12th. So that's 4 JW Racing cars in the top 12 here.
5, actually. So there are all 5 of JW Racing are in the top 12. And so that should be incredibly terrifying for the team that they are up against, so which is R&D Motorsports. So R&D Motorsports qualified 13th, 24th, 25th, and 29th. So they have got some work to do.
Yeah, a lot of work to do at that. So very impressive that JW was able to put that many cars in the top 10. But they're a team that practiced together a lot. No surprise there. Sean, it's time. Who do you got tonight?
Man, I've been thinking about this all week long, just trying to figure out which one of these two guys I'm going to take. They are both up at the front. You just got to pick which one you want. I'm going to go with Vincent Cortez. I really think that he is going to get that win before the end of the season, and this is his best shot at it.
Strong pick. I know I've picked him previously as well. Always going to run up front, but I'm feeling that Jordan Bain is going to keep that playoff momentum going, and he's going to come home with that checkered flag tonight. Every race I've broadcasted so far, which has been the playoff races, he's been in contention to win that race, even with his very bold strategy last week that almost worked out for him. So, no, points are reset. He needs to accumulate as many as possible, and I think he's going to have a run at it tonight.
Yeah, for those that barely snuck into this round, they are loving the fact that those points were reset. For those that were so far ahead, like Jordan Bain and Vincent Cortez and a few others, they are not very happy about it, but they just really need a good, solid first race here to put themselves in good position as we head out to Phoenix, Arizona next week.
Absolutely, and we are doing 60 laps tonight, and 60 laps around here is quite some time. This is a very, very long race, so guys are going to have to get in that rhythm and stay in that rhythm. But we will see some strategy tonight, I'm sure of it. So we'll make sure we keep an eye on when people pitting or how they are pitting. I do believe you can go about 25 laps on fuel here.
Yeah, it is not nearly as many laps as you think it would be inside these cars. But they are definitely coming around turn 3 and 4 here. And I think we're about to get this party started.
We are at the second round of the playoffs. We're about to get started right here. Sean, you got the call.
All right. Pace car is going to dive off, and it's going to be Adrian Schumacher taking off very quickly, getting a great jump on his teammate on the outside, Vincent Cortez. They're going to get in line with each other as they cross the start-finish line, and they head towards turn number 1.
Excellent start by Adrian right there. You can go anytime after that pace car pulls off, so he caught everybody sleeping. Got a big gap out in front right now. There's a couple battles going on behind him, and I'll tell you, it is hard to go too wide through these corners right here. So, you're going to have to pick your passes smart, keep yourself out of trouble. But so far, everybody looks like they're giving each other room early. Yeah,
and we saw this last night in the Truck Series also. Everybody got lined up very, very quickly. Nobody wanted to be the first one to make a mistake.
That's right, and you kind of do want to be in line, especially if you're trying to save a little bit of fuel. This track is very, very long, and anytime you can get in somebody's draft and save a little bit is going to be key. So guys lining up and spraying themselves out is probably going to be what we're going to see earlier. The only thing about leading this race like Adrian, though, you're not able to get that draft and save as much fuel as the guys behind you.
Yeah, and Adrian already swinging down to the inside to get that draft broken there. That's a nice little trick that a lot of people will use if they're up front. They will dive down to the inside so that draft is broken and people behind him can't get a good run.
And this track surface has a little bit of age to it. Not as much as we've seen in some of our previous races, but it's going to eat up the tires just enough. So those guys that are able to save a little bit extra are going to have a little bit of advantage towards the end of the run. Not as massive as some tracks, but just enough to make a difference. So Adrian's kind of got to manage how hard he wants to push it leading right now.
Well, that, and because he's out front, he's burning a little bit more fuel than everybody else too. So he really has to be cautious with how he deals with his tires and with his fuel, because we saw last night, people can come from the back pretty easily once they get into that draft.
The other key, Sean, is that wall coming out of 2 and the wall coming out of 4 come up on you very quickly. If you overstep that boundary even by a little bit, you can rub that right side off on that fence, and you see some guys staying a little bit further away from it, like they're being a little conservative. And then Adrian, he's driving all the way right up to it, getting all he can get. So you got to kind of weigh your options here. Is it worth the extra lap time to put yourself that close to the fence, or do you want to give yourself a little bit of extra room?
Again, that's that road course experience where you're taking these corners and you're getting all the way to the outside on the exit, as close as you can to that wall, because that is what's going to gain you just that little bit of speed. And when you have as much experience as Adrian does doing that time in and time out on all these road courses, then you become really, really good at it. Some of these other drivers back here in the back, not nearly as good, and they lose probably 1/10 of a second every single time they're not up against the wall like he is, and so that's why they're falling back and he's pushing forward.
He coming off the corner, he's really working that wheel. These Xfinity cars don't have as much downforce as we saw in the trucks last night. They set more up on top of the track, which means you're going to have to work that wheel to get that car pointed the right way off the corner. Takes a little bit more toll on your tires, but you just have to make sure you find that rhythm and stay in it to keep yourself out of trouble.
I thought I may have seen Jordan Bain touch the wall there, and if he did, then this is not the time for him to do that. I think he'll be okay, but could have sworn I saw him bounce off just a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little bit of damage there, Sean. You could tell just a little bit towards that back corner, but it looks like it's okay. If he's in the draft where he is right now, kind of in between a couple cars, he's not going to see as big of a deficit as if he was over there by himself. So right now, okay. We'll see how that pans out.
Well, here about 5 laps in, those tires are just getting warmed up, but once those tires start scrubbing off a little bit, it is going to be more and more difficult for these cars to make this turn. On top of that, as the cars get lighter from burning the fuel, they will get looser as well coming off those corners. So keep an eye on the exit of turns 4 and 2, and you'll see some action there of people kind of sliding all over the place.
That's right, and this track already drives really loose for these cars, so that just makes it that much harder. But you'll notice that some of these guys are getting all the way just below that that white line right there. There's a little bit of extra grip down there if you're able to get it. However, if you miss that part of the corner and then try to turn your car further down under that line, you can really take a toll on your front tires, and that's just going to make it that much harder to point that car the right way.
Absolutely, and you can see on this in-car how close Adrian is getting to that wall. That is absolutely incredible. That would scare me to death.
It's an art form. You got to know where the ends of your car is, but he's pulled out to quite an impressive lead, just over a second here. But, we talked about road courses and how this plays similar. It also plays similar in strategy. It's going to be a lot about track position. You see these guys get strung out. It's a long way from 10th place up to first place, almost 4.5 seconds. So how you play strategy is going to determine how you can take advantage of some track position, which I think is going to be important in winning this race.
Yeah, we are already about a quarter of the way through this tire and fuel run, and you can see some of these cars. You just saw right there, James Shanewolf had to dive down to the bottom just to get away from the car in front of him. That's Seth Reed.
Yep, the JW Racing Parade right here coming by. They're trying to get underneath the 81 machine of Seth Reed. And where Seth is right there, you can make that line work. It's just not that comfortable. You want to get back to the bottom as quick as possible, but if you have cars running in a line like those JW cars, you can get hung out there on the outside for a few laps, and it'll cost you a bunch of spots. And James is really getting all he can off that corner and almost lost it.
Yeah, he is. He almost put that car down into the infield, but again, very, very great driver, just trying to get around this track. But you can see a couple spots behind him. Drew Ballesteros is side by side with Seth Reed right now.
Seth Reed is able to make that outside line still work enough to stay by that car, but you're just not going to pass anybody that way. And he's kind of burning up his tires, taking that extra time. If I were him, I'd probably let that 54 go and maybe his teammate too, and settle in back there and find a rhythm and take care of my stuff. But kudos to them. They're racing hard and giving each other enough room.
Yeah, I think everybody's doing a great. Oh, as we get a little bit sideways, Drew Ballesteros gets a little bit loose there. Maybe just kind of had to save it there and did a great job of it.
And you saw Seth Reed get back in line between the 54 and the 51 right there, and that'll take the air right off that spoiler of the 54. And so that's what you saw right there. He just lost that rear downforce and got a little bit wiggly with it. But no harm, no foul. Got back in rhythm here, and everybody's lined back up.
Well, heading back up front, Adrian Schumacher's opened up a 2.5 on his teammate Vincent Cortez, and Vincent has opened up about 0.4 of a second on third place Tristan Bailey.
And for Vincent, this is also kind of concerning for the fact that, yes, you're only 1.5 seconds back, but you're not getting as much fuel save as like the 88 right behind you is. So, you know, this is what makes racing so much fun, Sean. I'm a strategy guy myself. That's what our team works a lot on week in and week out. And just little things like this, they may not seem like much now, but they can play a big outcome in how this race winds out.
You know, and if I'm teammates with the guy that's in front by a 1.5 seconds, it's a little bit frustrating for me because, I mean, this is my teammate and he's just beating me that much. What do I have to do to work my way forward to possibly win this race?
You know, this is another opportunity where you could help your teammate. You know, back it up a little bit, come back to me, let me use your draft to save a little bit more instead of pulling away from me. So it's an interesting dynamic to see how some teams work together and some teams don't, and that's just what we're seeing right here.
Well, you can see all those cars are basically in line except for the ones that are trying to break the draft there, including James Shane Wolf. Actually, that wasn't James. That was Drew Ballesteros back there. See, all their cars look alike.
They do. They all have the same logos on them. They're just different colors, but they're kind of hard to tell. All of them are fast, though, Sean. In the top 10, JW Racing has kept all those cars up front that they qualified up front. But you saw them dive all the way down to the inside there on the straightaway. The only problem with that is you have to make sure you get back up to the wall before you enter the corner. You really can't enter the corner very shallow here. It's just too risky for the tires, too risky for your line to clip that grass pretty easily. And so you need to get back up towards that wall. And the problem with that being, if there's a car out there, that could be disastrous. Luckily, everything was clear for him there.
Well, there is distance between every single car out there right now, so not a lot of side-by-side racing going on, which could be a good thing and could be a bad thing. It's a good thing for us because once we get to green flag pit stops, all those strategies are going to present themselves. It's a bad thing for us, though, because there's just not a lot of passing action going on right now.
Yeah, and that is part of how Indianapolis races for stock cars. You know, these aren't the same as Indy cars. You're not getting the runs and the poles, and they're a little bit harder to drive than those Indy cars with a lot less downforce. You see a couple passes going on back here in the 15th and 20th range, but now I think everybody has realized this is 60 laps. 60 laps is a very long time here. We're going to take care of everything early to make sure we have at least a shot to finish well at the end.
Well, Greg Olynyk trying to make his way forward, now in 14th position, but the biggest mover of the race so far, Rhett Tucker, starting off in 18th and worked his way all the way forward to 11th so far.
It's not surprising for me. He's a very talented race car driver. He's run up front in a lot of races this year, but you know, just maybe not had the qualifying lap he was looking for, but you know, remained calm with it and solidly working his way through that car clean. You
know, just the sound of his engine right there, so smooth going through those corners. A lot of drivers get into the pedal a little bit too early, and they have to back off a second time. For him, he backed off once and got right back into it. Really, really smooth corner there.
That's the key to this track. Last night in the truck race, we saw those guys that were able to back up the corner a little bit and make sure once you got in the gas, you could stay in the gas off, because these straightaways are so long, you can't afford to come out of the corner with bad momentum. And so that is what's propelling him forward so fast right now, is his ability to maybe back up the corner a little bit, get that car settled, smoothly get back in the gas, and just carry that momentum off. And not only is that going to help you get by guys, because you're not having to lift halfway through the corner, but you're taking care of your tires as well.
Well, now we got some side-by-side between Nathan De La Rosa and Matthew Robinson. Looks like Nathan's going to take that spot away from Matthew and move up to 8th position.
Yeah, and usually you can assume whoever's on the bottom is the one making the pass here. You're not going to see guys go to the outside to pass. So, yeah, Nathan was able to get by the 51 car right there. It looks like Gerwitz is going to come with him and try to get by him as well.
Yeah, Gerwitz moving up to ninth, and again, he is that guy that just you're not going to see a lot of really high finishes for him. You're not going to see him in first and second very often, but instead, he's that guy that sits here where he's at, about ninth, between fifth and ninth place. But that's all it takes to get into the next round, and that's all he needs is a chance.
Nothing wrong with that, Sean. JBR last year made their bread and butter by just being consistent. That was what helped us be where we were in the team championship and helped us have a couple drivers in the playoffs more than any other team. It was the fact that we didn't win it all last year, but we were just solid, consistent, and week in and week out we know what we had.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, you guys made it basically all the way through the season without a single win, but you also had all 5 of your drivers in the playoffs.
That would be correct. Yeah, we didn't win a single race, but we all got in the playoffs, and that's just the mantra we have, and so there's nothing wrong with Aaron Gerwitz and what he's doing. He might not be making the headlines every week in SRN, but man, just making it to the next round of the playoffs and cashing the check, that's the most important part.
Yeah, I think he's figured out that this is point racing, and we say it every single week. There's a big difference between point racing and single race racing. Point racing, you don't have to win, you just have to finish ahead of some other people. In single race racing, you got to go for that win every time.
And Sean, we saw it last week with Devin Zimmerman getting into that accident. If he would have just stayed status quo and finished that race, I believe he would have made it and been okay. But he tried to get a little bit too much and got himself in trouble, took himself out of the race, and ultimately took himself out of the playoffs. So you bring up a good point there. You have to know what you're racing for. You have to see the bigger picture, and sometimes starting and finishing in the top 10 is all you need to do.
Well, heading back up front right now, started off in first. He is still in first. Adrian Schumacher, 3.5 seconds ahead of second place now. He has just been so incredibly consistent. I'm not sure anybody's going to catch him.
Yeah, he's clean living up front, but I tell you, back 15th, 16th, 17th, got a wad of cars all over the place back there. We see the 53 diving on pit road, so here starts the strategy, Sean. Hitting a little bit early, but I believe you can one-stop it from here.
Yeah, if I'm doing the math right on this, if you're saying 25 laps, yep, he can make it all the way from here with a little bit to spare. So he's going to take that short pit and see what he can do with brand new tires and some fuel.
We got 3 wide action back by 15th. Oh, they're touching. Oh, wow, look at that. That's tight racing. Got a log jam of cars right here, Sean.
Not sure this is going to work out, Jonathan. Let's find out as Jack Hedgecox finally dives to the outside. Oh, Justin Rideout considering making it 3 wide there, but they go 2 by 2 through the corner.
3 wide does not work here. We somehow made it work in the trucks last night, but they have a little bit more downforce, so it's not as difficult of a task. But look, those guys knew they had 45 laps left and said we're not going to drive it 3 wide into turn 3, and that was probably the smart decision.
Now, just to put this out there, James Shanewolf is coming out of the pits right now. He has not lost a lap yet. You will see Adrian Schumacher right behind him there, but James Shanewolf should be able to get back on the track and still stay on the lead lap. That is very, very important here because that changes strategies sometimes. Absolutely.
This track is long enough that you can make a pit stop and not lose a lap, which is also important because that opens the window of short pitting a lot easier for you. Before you'd want to stay out as long as possible in case they cause a caution. You'd trap a bunch of cars a lap down, especially if you were trying to trap cars a lap down that were faster than you. But in this example, he wouldn't have to get the wave around, so he would just come and get his service again. So you more sacrificing track position, hitting short than trying to jump everybody. But we'll see how it works out. Interesting strategy play.
So far, a very, very clean race. Everybody's done a great job keeping those cars straight. Adrian Schumacher, though, has kept it straight and has pulled away to more than 4 seconds now. What an incredible display of driving here.
4 seconds is considerable here. That at this point, the 69 has lost that touch of any sniff of draft he had left. So hurts the 69's fuel saving, but Adrian doesn't mind. Clean living up front. It'll be interesting to see what he wants to do as far as strategy. I think we saw the 53 pit there because he saw how clean this race was going and just knew he could get away with short pitting. So we'll keep our ear on the ground here and listen and see what this 82 is going to do strategy-wise.
And really, James Shanewolf is the only one that has. Now we got one. Stan Hausman coming in. He's back in 28th place, though, so he is coming in for his first pit stop of the night.
You know, and if you're that far back, Sean, you probably lose a lap pitting. I'd say if you're in the top 15, you'd be okay. You know, pitting, coming out, and remaining on the lead lap. But if you're that far back, you're most likely going to go a lap down. So another side of the strategy. We'll see how that one works. I want to give a quick shout out to one of my drivers who just pulled up into the 6th place. That's Nathan De La Rosa in that Glitch Energy Super for my team. Solid driver. This is his first year racing here on SRN. You know, and he's learned a lot over the course of the season. And man, it feels like we're seeing him up front more often, which I'm proud to see. And I just want to let everybody know he'll be back with us again next year.
Yeah, all of your drivers have improved throughout the season, and that's a really good thing to see as a team owner. But Rhett Tucker coming down into the pits as well. He was the biggest mover of that first stint, and we'll see what he can do with some new tires as he comes out of the pits later.
And one possible strategy is to, you know, it's lap 20. We're a third through this race. Slice this race in thirds. You know, that way you're not having to lose too much time staying out on older tires, but you're not necessarily short pitting earlier. But I hear a lot of radio chatter right now. It seems like a lot of guys are going to do that strategy and split this race into thirds. We're going to have quite a few coming down pit road here.
Yeah, now that we see that all these cars are getting spaced out and that there's a strong possibility of this thing going green the entire race, now they can implement that strategy. And so that's going to be really comforting to some of these drivers.
Absolutely. And for some drivers, they might not know what they want to do, but this might make their decision. They might see all those guys start coming down and go, you know what, I'm going to do the same. But like I said, here comes a majority of the field and a bunch of playoff drivers right here.
Yeah, it looks like Jordan Bain, Seth Reed, Greg Olynyk, a few others getting down into the pits. But Adrian Schumacher, the lone guy, just staying out and extending that lead even further to 5 seconds now over his teammate Vincent Cortez.
You know, look at his times compared to the lap times of James Shanewolf, who we saw pit around lap 16. It's about a second difference on the tires between what he's running and what James is running. So that's what he's going to give up right here to those guys that just pitted as a second a lap. However, he did have a 4-second lead, Sean, so that's 4 laps. He might be able to stay out extra and still know he's going to maintain the lead no matter what. So that's just a little extra security blanket on his strategy, but if he's taking care of his stuff, you know, he's not going to lose that much time. We see Drew Ballesteros coming down here.
Yep, Aaron Gerwitz coming down as well. Michael Larch also. So a lot of JW Racing coming down this lap.
And this pit road, Sean, is very tight. It's really, really narrow for how big this track is. So, you know, being clean on pit road, not speeding, not running into anybody is going to be important too. So these guys got to stay focused when they're coming off the track and make sure they're clean in and clean out. But Vincent Cortez staying with it. I think he's probably going to end up playing the same strategy with the 82.
There's no reason not to. I mean, if you take second place in this first race of the playoffs, then you're set yourself up really, really well here. If anything, I would hope that Adrian Schumacher would come into the pits and allow Vincent Cortez to lead one lap, so that way they both get that bonus point. But I'm not sure there's going to be any team orders or anything.
It makes SRN a little bit different than NASCAR, Sean, as we see Nathan and Dylan Patterson coming down right here, is it's not a win and you're in format. So you have to put together 3 good races, and quite frankly, just 3 races where you finish better than most of your competition. And so how you do that is just, you know, unloading the car, showing up, taking your top 5, top 10, and going home. And sometimes that's all you need to do. You don't need to come out here throwing Hail Mary and try to win the thing. And so, just like you said with that strategy, they just know what they need, and first and second would be a great day for this team.
Well, not only is our top 10 right now, 6 of them are outside of the playoffs, 4 of them are inside the playoffs, but 8 of those 10 are also in the team championships as well. So a lot of battles going on as our leader, Adrian Schumacher, comes into the pits, followed by Vincent Cortez.
We saw this coming through. We knew it was going to happen. The only advantage to any other guy staying out, well, I was going to say Tristan might stay out and lead a lap to get a bonus point, but he's going to come too. And I think this is because this is probably the last lap you can make it on fuel-ish. So looks like Justin will resume the lead. Remember, he's the one that came down early. around lap 16.
No, that was actually James Shanewolf back in 11th. So Justin Rideout has not done his pit stop yet. Tyler Markle in second place has not done his pit stop yet. And it does not look like Justin led that lap either. So doesn't look like that helped him out too much. But we'll see where Adrian Schumacher comes out. Looks like he's going to come out and looks like he's going to be behind James Shanewolf possibly as James Shanewolf comes through.
Close here. The momentum on the track's probably going to carry them by right here, but the 82 will get right back up in there and probably catapult past these guys pretty quick. But you're right, Sean, all those JW racing cars look pretty similar, so it's kind of hard to tell them apart usually.
Well, now Jordan Bain will come around and take the lead as Tyler Markle and Justin Rideout are in the pits currently. So Jordan Bain followed very closely by Rhett Tucker. You can see how close that battle is. And Adrian Schumacher back there in about 6th in this little group here. But I don't think it'll take very long for him to get right back up front on brand new tires.
That's right. And there's only a couple laps difference in all those tires, but you see how green flag pit stops can bunch these guys back up, because you can lose and gain a lot of time coming in and off pit road here at Indianapolis with the runways on the bottom there. So this is just part of it here. The drivers up front right now are the ones that got on and off pit road maybe just a touch better, but it is also in combination with hitting a little bit early and not losing time on old tires.
Yeah, we'll see how quickly Adrian Schumacher can get around these guys on those brand new tires. Keep in mind, he pitted on lap 23. Jordan Bain pitted on lap 20. Rhett Tucker pitted on lap 19. So there is a little bit of separation there between those three.
And hitting early for like Rhett Tucker right here, that was just a play to get him some track position, because I believe he can settle in right here. And he just took his 11th place run to his 2nd place run. So, just little decisions right there to gain a little bit of track position at a track that's harder to pass. That's a big difference in points from 2nd to 11th.
Yeah, so we've got the guy that's been on fire for the past few weeks, Jordan Bain. We've got Rhett Tucker, who's been solid all season. We got Adrian Schumacher, the road course king, 1, 2, 3 right now. So going to be a great battle as these tires start to wear out a little bit.
Yeah, you see how quickly Adrian's catching these guys, and that's the product of him having a couple laps fresher tires. Just 1 to 2 laps can make a big difference, and in this case he has about 5 lap fresher tires than Rhett Tucker, so I assume he's going to get to him and make this pass pretty quickly.
I mean, not to mention he had a 5-second lead on everybody when all the tires were all the same. So just that talent here at Indianapolis is going to take him a long, long way here tonight, I believe, as he is going to get to the inside of Rhett Tucker and make that pass going into turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, there's nothing you can really do with the fresh tires coming around you. You're not going to really achieve much by holding them up, so smart move by Rhett Tucker. Let him go right there, settle back in, keep my 3rd place run going, because we talk about every week, every position is a point, so you have to do some risk assessment sometimes. Is racing this guy for 1 point that big of a deal when it could cost me 30 by getting in some trouble? So, good risk assessment there by Rhett Tucker, and he's probably just fine running 3rd.
As Adrian Schumacher takes the lead back from Jordan Bain, but Jordan Bain got that all-important bonus point, so that will definitely help him out. But Adrian Schumacher back to the lead, and I think he's going to go right back to doing what he was doing the entire first stint of this race.
Yeah, that's what it sure looks like, Sean, back in that clean air. He's going to be hard to reel back in. The guy that was running 2nd, Vincent Cortez, he's fallen back to 6th. The gap is about the same between the two that it was before the pit stops, just about 4 seconds. So, we'll see if Vincent Cortez can pull back up, but, it's going to be really hard with the 82 in that clean air, and that clean air is just going to make that car handle and drive that much better.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we're going to see a big, huge gap here. Once Vincent Cortez gets up there to Seth Reed, Rhett Tucker, Jordan Bain, if he can pass them, I think Adrian Schumacher will already have 10 seconds on everybody.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like, because since we've started talking about it, that gap has grown by half a second. So that's how much clean air means. Even on a track like this where you're not really tight with each other, just not having any dirty air on that nose helps you get the car turned that much faster and turned that much easier. which in turn also takes care of your tires a little bit better. So, being up front is the solution to all the driver's problems.
I mean, just to put this into perspective, right now Adrian Schumacher is beating everybody by almost 0.2 of a second per lap, and that's just insane.
Yes, he is the fastest car on the track right now, like you said, Sean, and I have that little ticker up. It shows me who's fastest on the track, and the green box has been allowing his name for about 4 or 5 laps now. So he's putting on a clinic right here.
Yeah, it looks like the only thing that could stop him is if some cautions occur. But right now, everybody's kind of been minding their P's and Q's. We'll see if that continues. As we get a little bit of racing there as Jack Hedgecock passes, or Hedgecock, I apologize, passes Michael Larch there. But looks like we might get a little bit of bumping going on between Aaron Gerwitz and Tristan Bailey as well.
Playoff drivers right there, Sean. Mired a little bit further back than we would probably guessed we'd see them. So 14th, 15th, and 16th, not a bad place to be, but you'd like to get a little bit more. We'll see what they can do. Maybe play a little bit of strategy to drum some track position as this race winds down. But yeah, they're racing each other pretty hard for that 15th place, I might say.
Well, with the top 5 all being playoff drivers, these other 6 playoff drivers really have to do a lot of work here just to kind of stay in touch with 31 drivers on the track. Look at Beau Tiffany back in 23rd position. If everything stopped right now, he would be 18 points behind 5th place, behind that cut line.
18 points is a lot. I mean, that's 18 positions on the track and considering that your other 10 drivers are going to be some of the best in the field week in and week out, it's going to be hard to close a gap that big. So the importance of the playoff drivers tonight in this race is to start themselves off well, come home with a good finish, and if you're outside the cut, make the gap somewhat tight so you're not having to try to do too much in the next couple of races.
Even though Texas is our next cutoff race, I really think that next week at Phoenix is going to be the most important race of this entire section of the playoffs, because it's kind of a short track, it's kind of a unique track, and a lot of times there's a lot of cautions there, and if these guys cannot make it through there cleanly, I really think it doesn't matter what happens at Texas.
That is true, Sean, and like you said, cautions or no cautions, that completely changes the way you strategize a race, and so the drivers and teams that are prepared the best for any circumstance are going to be the ones that find themselves up front. And, like you said, close racing, cautions, that means there's going to be accidents. Who's involved in those accidents can be big. So I do agree that Phoenix is going to kind of create that cut line, and that's probably where we're going to see it by the end of the round. But you never know. That's why we tune in every week.
Well, Greg Olynyk has moved up to 7th position. Shane Wolf gets way out of shape there, but saves it. But Greg Olynyk, if everything holds true to what it is right now, would actually be 2 points below the cut line, even being in the top 7.
I see quite a few drivers sliding them coming off the corner right here, and guys are pushing hard. They're even though everybody's spread out, these guys are still elbows up driving these things, and you see that sometimes when it slips up on them a little bit. But so far, everybody's kept it pointed the right direction, so we haven't had any cautions to this point.
Check in on our leader here. Already about 4 seconds ahead of second place. Vincent Cortez now about 5.5 seconds behind him. So even if Vincent is able to pass those 3 cars in front of him, he is still going to be very, very far behind.
And what's interesting to see here, Sean, is Vincent hasn't been able to close that gap. It's gotten even bigger, which means those guys that pitted a little bit before them, their tires have kind of equalized off because there's not a big discrepancy in lap time. So, maybe not something that he saw coming in, so he just said he'd play the same strategies as the leader. But kudos to the Jordan Bain, Rhett Tucker, and Seth Reed machines by trying some strategy to get themselves some track position.
Heading back, looks like we got some side-by-side between Michael Larch and Aaron Gerwitz back here battling for 15th position, and that might not sound like it's such a good deal. I mean, you're halfway back through the pack here, but Aaron Gerwitz needs every single point he can possibly get.
That's right. He's slipping back just a little bit here, and he's also doing a little bit of risk assessment like we talked about earlier. He might see a bigger picture here and maybe knows this isn't his best track, and if he can just come home with a top 20, that'll be good enough, rather than trying to push the issue too much and getting himself in a lot of trouble. So looks like he's gonna find his way past this 52 right here, and that's a point right there he just got. So we'll see what happens towards the end of this race.
Just a couple spots ahead of them, Brandon Domain, our broadcast partner from Wednesday nights and Sunday nights, he got a lot of practice in on the trucks because he was trying to figure out how they were going to react for last night's broadcast. And then he jumped into the Xfinity car right after the broadcast and said, this is just completely different.
Yeah, the trucks have a lot of downforce and a little less power, and these Xfinity cars have more power and a lot less downforce. And, man, even though it's not a giant discrepancy, it's considerable, and that just makes this track drive completely different for both.
So James Shamewolf staying on that off-kilter strategy here. He is diving into the pits here on lap 35 to come and take his service. We'll see if he can get out there in front of Adrian Schumacher again. I'm not sure that he was close enough to the front to do that, though.
Yeah, I don't think he was able to close that gap as much as he maybe thought he could by short pitting earlier, but he can make it to the end, all things considered, from right there. So we'll see what happens. But he started that strategy. He's going to stick to it and finish it.
Yep, and he will go a lap down. So he'll be the first car on the lead lap as Adrian Schumacher is looking at Derek De Silva in front of him here shortly. And James Shamewolf needs to hope that he doesn't catch Derek De Silva. Otherwise, James might be caught a lap down when all this is said and done.
Yeah, and this kind of, now that we're seeing a few lap cars towards the back start to get in front of the leader, Adrian's just got to navigate him clean, pass him smart. Don't be in a hurry to pass him because he's got a 6-second lead, which is quite a lot here in Indianapolis. So just pass him smart, keep the nose clean, don't put yourself at a high risk passing these lapper cars. Now,
so Derek De Silva is actually Adrian's teammate, and it looked like there was a little bit of confusion as to where he needed to go there, but he just got right around him after that little bit of confusion. It looked like he was wiggling a little bit, trying to figure out, should I go inside or outside?
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Maybe a little cross-up, but no harm, no foul. No, they didn't touch each other, so all good there. And Vincent's starting to click off a few of these guys back here and just close the gap on Rhett Tucker.
Yep, so he's been in fifth for a long time here, finally catches that pack in front of him, and so he is going to try to jump up into fourth place and continue his way back up to the second position.
And he does have a couple lot pressure tires. You see Rhett Tucker get really tight off the corner right there and almost put it in the fence, but he's able to keep it off. There's just that line, and you can't overstep that line, and so far everybody's kept the right side of it clean, so they haven't been pressing too hard, but you see Vincent, he's trying really hard to catch these guys. He's not getting that car all the way up to the bottom. He's pivoted all he has to try to get these guys. I don't know if that's the best move considering how that can affect your tire wear, but we'll see what happens.
I don't know. I think this late into the tire run, I think it's okay. I think it's okay to go ahead and do that because worst case, you come in a little bit earlier than you would have. At this point, everybody can make it if they pit, so it's just a matter of how hard do you run it right now in order to, as he gets way out of shape.
He's trying to get all he could get right there, come off that corner. Almost put that thing in the fence or spun it to the inside. Either one could have happened right there, but still has that 69 machine pointed the right direction. He's about 3 laps away from pitting if he's going to keep that same cut the race at third strategy that he was doing before, so we'll keep an eye on that there. But, this is the money stop, as we would say. This pit stop right here, you just want to make no mistakes, get on and off clean, and not cost yourself any free positions.
I think that James Shamewolf just tank slapped the outside wall, and so that will hurt him even more. Yeah, you can see that the back of that car kind of bent up even more than it was before. Still keeps it straight as Rhett Tucker comes down into the pits now.
This is on strategy for him. This is about the right time period considering where he came down the first time, so regular service right there. He's going to get his 4 Mr. Feelgood's full tank of gas and get back out there and see what he can do. But, man, Adrian is just driving away from everybody and everything that is on this track.
Yep, 7 seconds now is the gap, and now he's coming up on Dylan Patterson, who it looked like Dylan had to come back down a second time into the pit road. It may have been a stop-and-go penalty for speeding in pit road.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. You just gotta be careful, especially with this being the money stop. You don't want to make mistakes. And if I was Adrian with as big of a lead as I have, I might be a little bit more conservative and maybe not get that close to the pit limit speed as we see a bunch of the guys behind him come down right here.
Yep, so Jordan Bain, Seth Reed, Vincent Cortez, Nathan De La Rosa, Drew Ballesteros, Greg Olynyk, Tristan Bailey, Aaron Gerwitz, and a lot of others all coming down into pit road for their final stop of this race, potentially. But Adrian Schumacher just clicks off even more distance now.
And it almost looked like a pit cycled under caution with as many guys came down right there. They'll all get off, and we'll see if everybody was able to go mistake-free on pit road. And that could decide how the end of this race goes as Adrian's trying to navigate a little bit of lap traffic here.
Yeah, now you've got Shane Wolf, who's on fresh tires, passing him to get his lap back naturally here. Not going to matter unless something really big happens here in the near future. We're not hoping for that, by the way. We're just saying that's sometimes how it goes.
If not the case, some of these guys like Shane Wolf, caution's going to be the only way they're going to find themselves back in it, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens, though. We've still got a long way to go. 20 laps is a long way here. We see Matthew Robinson coming down pit road. A few more of the JW cars making their stops here. But we'll see what happens. This is interesting because some of the guys that pitted later the first time came a little bit earlier, this time a little bit off sequence. Maybe they saw what the 99 and 28 were doing right there and able to get some track position and wanted some of it, so they jumped on the same strategy.
The funny thing about all this stuff, if you're in the cockpit there with Adrian Schumacher, I think he's just saying, I don't care. Go ahead. Pit whenever you want, man.
Yeah. Yeah, the confidence has to be high with the way he's driven this car tonight. See him coming down right here. And he just got to go mistake-free right here. Don't overshoot the pit box. Keep it under pit speed. Make sure you get off pit road cleanly. Don't get in the grass or anything like that. And he's going to cycle back out to the lead if he does all that.
So Jack Hedgecox, it looks like, will take over the lead. He has not made his final pit stop yet. And so just with the cycle the way it is, he will take a nice large lead. Right behind him, about 7 seconds behind him, Michael Larch will bring up second place. Behind him, Mike Lepicki will take up third for the time being.
And I assume these guys are not far away from having to get their service because they've been out on the track about a full run. They might have 4 or 5 laps left in it. But I don't know if it's worth pushing it. We'll find out. Jack, though, was a playoff driver. Did not make the cut, but he's still racing for his team with Stryker Motorsports and the weekly payout. So, that we thank SRN for all they do for the drivers and make sure that week in and week out, even if you're not in the contention for the big money, there's something to be had every week.
And something happened a little while ago. Let's pull up Greg Olynyk here as he is currently back in 17th position. Now, he was up in about 7th position. So what happened with this is when he was coming into the pits, he actually was sideswiped there by the 54 of Drew Ballesteros, and that caused him to have to do a lot of pit time there. So Greg Olynyk damaged out there and had to fall back to about 17th position. So now he is going to be further behind the 8 ball. You can see that damage on the inside of this car.
Yeah, it looked like he got a little bit of it fixed, considering that he was sideswiped. Nevertheless, car's still not clean. It's not going to drive the same it was before. He'll pick up a few more spots here as we got a couple more pitting. We got Lepicki's going to come this time. And I'm assuming the top 3 or 4 will all come here with the next couple laps. So it'll cost him a little bit, but he'll get a few more spots back here. I'll probably cycle out somewhere 11.
But Jack Hedgecox will come into the pits and give up the lead to Michael Larch from JW Racing. Again, they are racing for the team championship. They are the 8 seed, defeated the number 1 seed a little bit earlier. And looks like we did have a wreck. Austin Moore completely damaged there. But it looks like he got towed in before the yellow flag came out. Let's go ahead and take a wreck replay, though. Let's find out what happened with Austin Moore.
Well, luckily we were able to keep this thing green flag racing regardless of this wreck here, but we did have to get our 1 wreck replay in today, right, Sean?
I mean, Beer Street Journal paid for it. They might as well get at least 1. But
right.
Austin Moore just
a little hard. Whoa!
Oh, wow!
The pit wall. Well, I mean, I guess it did bring out a caution, which is good. But wow, that was an impact right there, and that's my car that took that impact. So that's a rough day at the office.
Hope you have insurance there, Jonathan. But yeah, he was able to tow and keep this race green. So good job by doing that. But he will definitely be out of this race. Tyler Markle takes over the lead after all the pits and everything. He and Justin Rideout, who is in second, have not pitted yet. Adrian Schumacher, 6 seconds behind them, has already had his last pit stop.
Yes, and I mean, Adrian, you look at the gap between him and Rhett Tucker, which is going to be the leader gap when all this cycles out. It's about 4 seconds, which is what we've seen after every cycle stops. But if the book keeps writing the story that it's been writing so far, he's going to pull that lead out again, I'm pretty certain. And as long as this stays green, I think this is Adrian's race.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. The next car behind him currently is Rhett Tucker, and he is 5 seconds behind Adrian on 3-lap older tires. So Adrian's just going to stretch this thing even further.
Yeah, and he's had such good pace all day today that strategy might not even matter. He's just that fast. And again, I'm looking at the timing and scoring. He's the fastest car right now on the track by at least 2/10, which is incredibly impressive. So, and he's got to keep his head down and go mistake-free, and this will be an incredible start to the playoffs for that 82 machine.
Well, anyone out there that is watching that is in iRacing, want you to go on board here with Adrian Schumacher with us and take one lap around Indianapolis with him so you can see exactly how this is done. I mean, that is just insane. I wish I had that talent, Jonathan.
And you look at that, you just think how smooth that is, and that's the key. And we keep comparing Indy to a road course, and Adrian's one of the best road course racers in SRN, and we do that for good reason. Just like a road course, you need to be smooth and have rhythm and just hit your marks, and that just looks comfortable and smooth for him. And when you're able to make time that quick and be that smooth, that's all you're going to need right here. We're hearing on the radio that the 50 is going to come down pit road right here, so he's going to surrender the lead back to Adrian. And so we'll see when everybody cycles through after they cross the line here how big that lead actually is. But if he keeps driving as smooth as he did right there, man, he's going to be almost impossible to beat.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be about 5.8 seconds between him and Rhett Tucker, who's in second place. Now, behind Rhett Tucker, Jordan Bain about 2 seconds further back. So Rhett Tucker has gained even more ground overall in this race. And so he is in prime position to take up that silver medal.
Absolutely. And, man, I got to give a shout-out to all these guys out here tonight. How incredibly clean this race has been, because this is not a very easy track to drive in these Xfinity cars because they stood on top of the track so much. But this just shows you the level of talent and how good these drivers are week in, week out. We're able to go almost 50 laps here and a few more laps clean at Indianapolis is incredible.
Well, Adrian Schumacher is 12 laps away from the most dominating victory probably in SRN history.
Yeah, he led qualifying by a 10th, which is an achievement on its own. I mean, that's incredible. And never looked back. I mean, the only time he hasn't been in the lead is in the middle of a green flag pit stop cycle. So, what an incredible start to the playoffs for him and that team. And looking at Aaron Gerwitz here, he's gotten back up to 10th in that 09 machine. Just like we talked about, Sean, you're going to find him there in that 8th, 9th, 10th area all the time, and there he is.
Yeah, and that might be okay for him here. I really think that if he's going to gain ground, I really think it's going to be at Phoenix. I think that's one of those tracks where he can get through. As long as he can get through any wrecks that are there, I think that he can pull off probably the second or third top finish in the playoffs of that race. I really think that'll happen.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with you. You look at the leaderboard, our top 5 all playoff drivers. Then we have 3 non-playoff drivers in a row. There's 6th, 7th, and 8th. And then, boom, 4 more playoff drivers. So, man, 8 of the top 12, or a little bit less than that, are are all playoff drivers, which these guys know it's crunch time. You know, they want to get off to a good start here in this round of 11 now. And most of these guys are making the most of it. We only have a couple playoff drivers that are having a few struggles tonight, like Beau Tiffany back there 19th. But Greg Olynyk, like I said, he gained a few more spots. He's back up to 13th. So he'll be okay. But some of those guys further back, that's going to be a big gap heading into Phoenix.
7.5 seconds back to Rhett Tucker. And just like we were talking about a little bit earlier, 10 seconds back to Vincent Cortez in 4th place. So Vincent Cortez, who qualified second in this race, has given it everything he could possibly give it and is still 10 seconds behind his teammate.
Yeah, and Sean, that's just how it works sometimes. There's not much you can do about it. But, Cortez, solid race car driver. He would gladly take 4th here today, move on. He will be a force next week at Phoenix, I'm sure of it. And then he's also really, really good at the 1.5 miles, so, he'll be running up front of Texas as well. So, considering this might be the track he runs the worst out of the 3, if that is a thing, he'll take a 4th place gladly and move on. And if I was the top 5 right now, I would take today and move on to next week.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're just a couple points behind, where Tristan Bailey is right now, so he's 4 points behind Seth Reed if everything stopped right now. Oh, looks like Greg Olynyk having some more trouble here.
Yeah, he's down low here on the backstretch. Car is definitely off the pace. Don't know if we got a little bit of the fence there coming off or a little loose, but that thing is definitely off the pace.
Let's try to find out here as we go to another Rec Replay brought to you by Beer Street Journal. And always remember, please drink responsibly. And it looks like he was side by side with James Shane Wolf. And as they come off the corner, James Shane Wolf gets way out of shape, and then they kind of connect a little bit. Greg Olynyk saves it, goes through the grass, gets back on pace. So a little bit of damage there, but it looks like he is still pointed forward, although he is going to fall probably 3 positions from where he was.
Saving that thing right there is impressive. That could have been a lot worse right there for Greg Olynyk. And man, his playoff chances are glad that it wasn't worse than that, because he was headed towards that inside wall in a hurry. But still in 14th right here. He's got a little bit more pace, I think, than that 53. So I could see him getting back by him and coming home, somewhere near 13th this week and moving on to next week. But wow, that could have been a lot bigger.
That could have been a lot worse. So just nothing but bad luck for him as somebody gets into him in pit road, and then that damage right there between himself and James Shane Wolf. So it's definitely going to drop him down a few spots where he was up in 7th. Now he's going to drop all the way back down to 15th after Michael Lepicki passes him here. So that is going to cost him about 8 points overall, and he's not going to be happy about that.
No, and luckily, iRacing's virtual grass will not tear that car to pieces. But in real life, a run through the grass like that might end your day. So luckily, that grass was mowed and the iRacing grass is friendly. But all in all, if I were him, I'd be glad with 15th, because that could have easily been 30th.
Well, cows like to eat grass, and so that Moon Brew car worked through the grass really, really well there. So good job on that. But back up front, Adrian Schumacher now has opened it up to 9.3 seconds over second place.
Yeah, are we shocked? I mean, this
Not really.
This is a dominating performance, and it just continues. But he's got that Healthcare Billing Incorporated, our pre-race sponsor on that machine, and A good-looking car, and even better looking when it's out front by 10 seconds.
And just it's perfection. that's the only word to say what has happened here with Adrian Schumacher here tonight. Perfection on the racetrack.
Yeah, and this is a product of him having a good team around him. Tank, they practice a lot together. They share a lot of notes, and him having a good team support as well as some of the better skills of tracks that drive like this. It's just the perfect combo, and you're seeing that pay off tonight. And not shocking that a lot of our playoff drivers are up front. It's a product of this kind of racing, and it's been a clean race, and you like nothing more to see that. So, yeah, what a dominating performance.
Greg Olynyk and James Chamberlain side by side once again here. This time it goes a little bit cleaner with the pass, and Greg Olynyk will move up to 15th position.
He had a little bit more pace than that 53, so not surprising he got by him right there. He's going to settle back in the groove. But that Moo and Brew car, if you don't follow Moo and Brew on their social media platforms, you definitely need to, because their posts are incredible. Just don't look at them while you're hungry. That might be a mistake. But what a great sponsor they have with Greg, and good to see that car in contention week in and week out.
I was going to say mouth-watering, and if I ever get to that area, I'm telling you, that's the only place I'm eating because of the pictures they put up online. It's just absolutely delicious looking. I cannot wait to take that trip.
Absolutely, and it's a trip I might have to take soon enough, Sean. They keep enticing me with those posts, and Greg is a great promoter for them, so a great relationship they have there. And 15th, that's where Greg finds himself right now.
Yeah, going back to that Moo and Brew, man, I'm sending my daughter to a girls' camp out there next summer, and the first thing I thought about was how close is this girls' camp to Moo and Brew?
John, that just says something about SRN as a whole. We have a lot of partners and sponsors that are part of this that we really are thankful for, and the exposure they're able to get through what we have here at SRN is incredible, because it's a lot less expensive than it were to wrap a NASCAR race car for a weekend. But we take pride in the people that help us race every week. We're always looking to support them. So any of the sponsors you see out here on any of the cars, or any of the people that partner with SRN pre-race or post-race, make sure you check them out and support them, because they do a lot to support us.
Well, our pre-race show sponsor, Healthcare Billing Incorporated, is going to love this, because they are on the front of Adrian Schumacher. Hundred and Associates are on the back of his car there as well. So they are going to love the exposure they're getting here with just this dominant performance.
The screen time if your car's up front. So if I was Healthcare Billing Incorporated, I'd be very pleased with this as well. Like you said, Sean, our pre-race sponsor, we're thankful for them. But man, they got to be happy with what they're seeing with the 82 car right now. Absolutely dominating.
2 laps to go as he is going down towards turns 3 and 4. And then he will take that white flag. Nothing is going to stop Adrian Schumacher here.
No, he's got a couple of slow cars out in front of him here, but I think they're going to be respectful and give him plenty of space and let him keep working. And he's going to come around and take the white flag here.
Adrian Schumacher could almost stop the car right now, get out and run the last lap, and still win this race.
Probably, like Carl Edwards did after he wrecked at Talladega. 1 lap to go here, and just no mistakes. And he's waving the peace sign in the mirror right now, Sean.
I mean, he is completely and totally gone. I will say one thing that we are looking at now, Jordan Bain and Rhett Tucker side by side for second place. Looks like Jordan Bain may make that pass, but Rhett Tucker gets a good little run here. We'll go back up front really quick as Adrian Schumacher has half a lap to go until the end of this race. But we're checking back and forth with this thing, because great race here for second.
And you're like, why aren't they battling so hard, and why does this matter? They're both in the playoffs, and every spot's a point. So this is actually a 2-point swing in this pass right here. So that does mean something. They're going to fight hard for it. But Adrian Schumacher, total domination. He's going to pull it to the inside wall, course racing style, and bring that 82 home.
And he is going to just complete the domination. Let's head back really quick and see what it looks like here.
Vincent Cortez got all he could off the corner, kept it straight. Photo finish.
And Rhett Tucker, I believe.
It was Rhett Tucker by about 2 1,000ths is what I'm seeing. Wow. But that's a 2 points with the 2 1,000ths right there.
Great race there for second place. But we head back to Adrian Schumacher as he goes through his victory lap here. So Rhett Tucker second.
Cortez was able to come back in fourth even after almost putting that thing in the inside wall coming off 4 right there. So impressive day for Tank. Impressive day for Adrian.
Oh, he is just having fun out there now. What's so crazy is that he is still controlling that car.
You know what? And we are not surprised. He's a driver with such talent and such a nice guy as well. Doesn't ruffle a lot of feathers. Tries to drive clean, and he deserves this one and all his other wins this year. So impressive. Pulls the old Austin Moore right there. Puts it in the pit wall, but he'll enjoy this one for sure.
Oh, everybody's going to the pit wall now. We're having a great time. But Adrian Schumacher wins this race. Let's pull up the results and see how everybody else did as well. So Adrian Schumacher in first place by 11 seconds. I believe that is the largest victory margin of victory in Speed Racing Network history. We will have to double check that, at least on an oval course, not on a road course. But Rhett Tucker takes second, Jordan Bain third, Vincent Cortez fourth, and then Nathan De La Rosa, our first of the non-playoff drivers, rounding out the top 5.
That's right, Sean. That's my driver in 5th right there. But for the top 5, our playoff drivers, and then we have Corey in 6th, and Seth Reed, a playoff driver, coming home in 7th. Jack Hedgecox coming home in 8th. Tristan Bailey in 9th, and Aaron Gerwitz in 10th. So 7 of our top 10 tonight were playoff drivers.
Yep, Matthew Robinson for JW Racing in 11th, Mike Lepicki in 12th for Tank Racing, Michael Larch in 13th, Brandon Domain for Striker Motorsports in 14th, and Greg Olynyk fell back to 15th after a lot of bad luck here tonight.
Yes, and Zach Deuscher will be in 16th. Stan Hausman will come home in 17th, and then another playoff driver in Beau Tiffany there in 18th. But, Sean, I'm looking at this list, and you know what I see? We saw JW qualify all their cars in the top 10 or 12. There's only one in the top 18 here on the finishing results. So, 2 of them actually in the top 18. So that's a big difference from where they started this race to where we finished, and that's why you can never count your chickens before they hatch.
Yeah, and R&D Motorsports, who they are taking on in that team championship, had 3 in the top 18. So it looks like R&D will take a little bit of a lead starting off this second round of the team playoffs. So, man, it is going to be a really, really good battle between those 2 teams, I believe. But let's see if we can't get some interviews going. Let's get Jordan Bain up here to find out exactly how his race went. Jordan Bain, Sean, and Jonathan up in the booth, man. Great race out there. I don't think anybody had anything for Adrian Schumacher, but, man, bringing it home in 3rd in this first race of the second round of the playoffs, you should be happy with that, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. That was mission accomplished. We were able to lead a lap there, and then, just a fun race. Chasing Rhett down there the last 10 laps and battling him nice and clean. Last thing I wanted to do was make a mistake and cost us a solid top 3. So that was a lot of fun. Good clean racing with him. But yeah, that's mission accomplished. Schumacher, I don't know what the hell he was doing, but man, he had us covered today.
Yeah, he was in dominating fashion. And Jordan, you were my pick tonight, and you beat Sean's pick, so I thank you for that. But how are you feeling about the next 2 weeks? We got Phoenix and Texas coming up to complete this round of the playoffs.
I feel pretty good. I had no laps at Indian and Xfinity car coming into this race, so I scraped the wall a little bit, like on lap 5 or 6. It wasn't that bad, but still, I was like, oh man, here we go. It's going to be a long day. But fortunately, it was only 6 seconds of optional. We didn't need to fix it, and I like the next 2 tracks, so we'll be good there.
Well, man, we are looking forward to seeing it. Who do you have to thank here tonight before we get you back down to celebrating your 3rd place victory?
Yeah, just all the teammates at Rev'd, B-Water for being on board. Appreciate you guys as always, and Tripp and everyone who puts this league on. A lot of fun. Looking forward to going back and watching Schumacher just lick the field.
I mean, it was to the point where we actually had to cut away from him because no other cars were near him. so
Yeah.
just an unreal display.
Hopefully you got a good show for second there, if you guys caught that.
Oh, we did. We caught every bit of it.
All right,
Every
right
bit
on.
of it. Well, great job, man. Well, we will definitely see you next week as we invade Phoenix.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, buddy.
Catch
Take
you
care.
later.
All right, let's see if we can't grab Rhett Tucker, who, again, just nobody had anything for Adrian Schumacher, but Rhett Tucker came the closest. It was 11 seconds away, but, man, I think he'll take second place. Rhett Tucker, welcome to the booth with Sean and Jonathan. Tell me what you're thinking right now.
What's up, guys? At least I was on the same track as Adrian, I guess, right?
It's good to be that close to perfection, right?
Jeez, man, I'm happy with it, bro. That was fun racing with Jordan. I actually ran some practice with him earlier, so very thankful for that. I had no confidence going into this race at all. You saw, I started 18th. I pitted one lap earlier than everybody on my cycles, and that's what got me up there. I just tried to hang on to it.
Well, man, even though there's not much you could have done there for Adrian, second place is a really, really good start for the playoffs. And so, talk to us a little bit about what you're thinking as these playoffs continue. You got Phoenix and Texas up next, but obviously you've fired off to a good start in this round.
I'm pretty stoked for Phoenix, man. That's my jam right there. I love the short tracks. Phoenix is always fun. Oh, I'm excited to run the new layout too we got, so that'll be cool. I gotta get some practice in.
Well, man, go ahead.
I don't know. Texas and Atlanta, those are not my strong points right there. So I don't know. I guess some seat time is what makes everything better.
Man, you just got to get that practice in, but we're starting to get kind of used to seeing Rhett Tucker towards the front of the pack, so definitely don't let us down on that. But who do you have to thank here before we let you get back to it?
You guys, Sean, John, up in the booth, doing a badass broadcast every week. Trip for putting it on. Everybody at Speed Racing Network, Malware Bites, and everybody that watches.
Well, man, great job here tonight. Congratulations on second place. And obviously that means that you are inside the cut right now in those playoff standings. So great job on that. And we will see you next week as we head to Phoenix.
Thank you, guys. See it.
So we will put him back in his chat for the time being. Okay, now we're going to try something here. Adrian Schumacher has not had a microphone for the past few weeks that we've been trying to interview him. I am told that he has a microphone now. So we're going to try to bring him into the booth. Adrian Schumacher, do you have a copy?
Grazie ragazzi.
Oh my goodness, we have a microphone. We're thrilled actually. So
Yeah.
hey man, it's Sean
yeah.
and Jonathan up in the booth. That was the most incredible display I think I've seen in Speed Racing Network history. I believe, I'm going to go back and check, that may have been the most dominant win on a non-road course in the history of Speed Racing Network.
Geez.
So tell me, what's the secret? What is the secret of Indianapolis?
Well, I guess we're not going back there again this season.
No,
So
we're not. So
might as
tell
well
us. Yeah,
spill
tell us
beans.
all, man. Do it.
I kind of like to hang the back end a little bit, put all the stress on the rear tires and the least amount of stress on the front tires so I can turn. And that's how I was able to keep the rotation in the car and the speed down the front stretch, well, both stretches.
Oh, man, it was incredible to watch and absolutely dominating performance. Great job, man. Obviously, you're in the playoffs, and you couldn't ask for a better start to your playoffs. We go to Phoenix and then Texas to complete this round. How are you feeling about those tracks?
Texas, not so much, but Phoenix is a pretty good one for me, I think. Just resembles some road course tracks I mostly race at, so I should be good there.
Well, man, that is awesome. Great job out there tonight. Who do you have to thank here tonight?
Let's see, let me pull it up. I'd like to thank Healthcare and Billing, Chicago Heights, Liftworks, Raise Energy, Hunterton, ButcherBox, Teespring, Common Sense, Supplements, Invader Sim Designs, and everyone at Tank Racing.
Well, man, I mean, just I said it before, I'll say it again. That was perfection on the racetrack. Congratulations. Just an absolutely incredible display. I've been looking through the standings for the past 2 seasons. I don't see another race that was that big of a deficit. So congratulations, just complete and total domination. And, man, we will see you next week and see if you can do it again at Phoenix this time.
All right. Just a side note. Don't look under the Ford sticker on my engine. There's definitely not a AMG Performance engine in there. So just saying.
Oh, there's the secret, John.
There it is. I was saying, man, we need to drug test the car. Forget Adrian. We need to drug test the car itself. So man, great job here tonight. But we will talk to you next week at Phoenix.
Hey, guys. Grazie, ragazzi.
All right. And so we are moving on now. Phoenix, it's going to be the In the Zona 150 at Phoenix Raceway next week at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Sean, iRacing has the brand new scan of Phoenix Raceway back on the service, so we'll get to see that new layout with the start-finish line where the backstretch used to be on the dog leg there. So new track for all these guys. There's going to be a lot of practicing this week to get used to it because the track is a little bit more narrow. So we'll see who puts in that practice this fast next week.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of drivers working really, really hard this week as soon as that scan came out. So just got to keep on working at it. We got 1 week for them to figure out the brand new track. But our very next race this Sunday, right back here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, we got the playoff round of 10. See, the Cup Series actually does it right. They only have 10 drivers in the second round of the playoffs. But the playoff round of 10, the Hoosier 185 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway right here, Sunday, November 7th at 8 p.m. Central. Do not miss it.
That's right. You know, this is our version of the Brickyard 400 because NASCAR doesn't use the oval format anymore. They drive on the road course. So we will have our version back up for you. It should be entertaining. Those races usually are kind of a hidden crown jewel in the motorsports world. So it'll be exciting to watch. Cup drivers are the best we have at SRN, and those 10 playoff drivers will be buying for those 5 spots.
We'll definitely come back and watch those races, but like and subscribe us, and definitely check out all of the other races that we have going on, especially during these playoffs, because it is about to get even more intense here at Speed Racing Network. But the best way to stay out in front of everybody is just to go faster.